Welcome to our session, Connecting the Clouds. I'm Ephraim. I'm Director of Enterprise Cloud Solutions at Equinix.
I'm Jeff Dickey. I'm SVP of Cloud Solutions.
So I want to start off by just looking back on traditionally how IT was delivered. And I go back further than a number of you. And I'm used to working in IT ops organizations where everything runs out of the corporate data center at headquarters. And if you're at headquarters, you get the headquarters experience. All the apps are designed to serve you, and you've got low latency, you're on the LAN. Life is good if you're a headquarters user. Then you go out to the branch office, maybe you're visiting, and you say, you know, everything seems okay except a couple of these applications, they're kind of slow. You move a little further afield, and you get the remote office experience, and sometimes we used to call that the hotel experience. And some of the apps that you really depend on just don't work all that well. And woe to you if you're one of those people even further afield, because you get the kill me now experience. You find it's really hard to do your job if you're an employee, or if you're a customer, you say, I'm going to find somebody else because this just ain't doing it for me. So the theme that we're trying to reinforce is quality of experience is the real measure of how well you're performing, either as an IT organization or as an application provider. Is the user happy? Are they able to do what they want? And with the increasing pressures of anytime, anywhere, any device, it's funny. I've often thought in sessions like this, it'd be fun to just suddenly dim the lights and see what the glow from below is, because we all come to these anymore, and we're on our phones, we're on our laptops, we're constantly connected. It's an addiction, and it ain't going away anytime soon. So how do you deliver applications reliably at high performance over all of these different devices? And you think about how many different devices you have. I know there was I believe it was a Cisco study that said by 2016, 70% of users will have 5 or more devices. And I'm sure a lot of you say, oh, I got that beat. And the old way of delivering software, box product, install on one endpoint, and we're going to track licenses, that just doesn't work anymore. We've got SaaS apps. We have things that we want to be able to work on our phone, work on our tablet, work on our desktop, PC or Mac, and have that same experience, have a good experience. So the important thing to do is really look at how you're delivering, how your application is architected, and where you're delivering it from, and not try and serve the world from a single location if you have a global user base. And so that's where the cloud comes in. It seems like the perfect way to do this, because you look at the characteristics, and I always like the NIST definition, that on-demand self-service network access, obviously you can read the slide. I thought it was interesting yesterday, I believe it was the Forrester researcher was saying that for a lot of private clouds, they don't turn on self-service. And then that sort of blurs the distinction between what is virtualization and what is cloud. If it doesn't have self-service, that's one of the essential characteristics, that you're not really giving people a cloud experience. And one of the things that users love is that ability to bypass IT. I worked in IT for many years, and I felt like I was the guy who always said no, because what I was enabled to do, measured on, was control costs, make systems available. But developers would come up to me and say, hey, I got a new project starting next week. I need a server for about 2 months, and it needs to be the biggest server you got. And do you have a spare one of those sitting around? And I'd say, well, no, I don't keep multi-million-dollar capital assets idle, so sorry, I can't help you. But if you fill out these forms and get budget approval, I can have it for you in 2 months, and you've got to sign up for 3 years. These guys just don't get it. Or the shadow IT that you see, where people will start something on their own and try and hide it from central IT for fear that central IT will come and shut them down. And again, do you want to be the people stealing the candy if you're in central IT, or do you want to be a partner to the business and enabling enable them to do what they need to do. So for a lot of reasons, cloud can be very compelling. So with that, I will turn it over to my co-presenter, Jeff.
Thank you. So enter the public cloud. There's so many positive things about going to the public cloud, and I think that's why the consumption has increased drastically. It's why we have everyone trying to or moving to the public cloud. You've got, you don't have to do any upfront acquisitions of hardware. You can rapidly deploy. You can set up a scalable global cloud footprint in a short amount of time. But there's also some issues with the public cloud, and there's a lot of server sprawl, and there's billing issues. I don't know if does anyone here have had heart murmurs from opening up an Amazon bill? Seen that? Yeah. The public cloud's very sticky. It's meant to be like that, and your bills just keep growing. So
the vision, the what if you could scale, manage, capacity, performance, availability, while maintaining your capital. You don't want to do these very capital-intensive build-outs and use up, especially if you're a smaller company, use up all of your money on a data center build-out for initial startup. And the thing that the cloud is great for is those, I need something quickly for a short period of time. But what if you could then scale and make it more cost-effective and do it anywhere around the world? So the model we're advocating is a own the base, rent the spike, that when you have something that's new, that needs to be up and running quickly, cloud is great. That's a unique workload. But once you establish what that is, then pull that into your own private cloud, run it much more cost effectively, securely, you have more control. I think back to my days, I used to work at Microsoft, and we would be launching a new service, and we'd say to the developers, I was in MSN operations, how much equipment do you need? How big does it need to be? And they'd say, well, we don't know, but it's possible that every human being on the planet will hit that website at the exact same time on the day of launch. So build out for something that big. And we would, and we'd have all of this excess capacity because even if that happened, from hour 2 and onwards, you have way more capacity than you need. So being able to flexibly scale until you know what that base load is great for the public cloud. But then you want to take control of your environment and have your base load on your own infrastructure.
So now just move into kind of introductions of who we are, a little bit about Equinix and Redapt. So Redapt is an agnostic data center reseller and solution provider. We've been in business for about 17 years. We've got a global sales footprint, and we have offices in strategic locations around the world, and those locations are mainly around prominent infrastructure build-outs and data centers so that we can rapidly move gear around the world and have running clouds. We have several awards. One of those is kind of Dell Partner of the Year awards, where we happen to be Dell's largest reseller, and those projects we focus on mainly cloud solutions and big data, anything hyperscale, and also any type of data center project, doing moves and any type of growth in the data center. We even do lifecycle management, where we take out old gear and we give that towards all your new gear for building out these larger data center footprints. So what does that mean? Like, where do we fit in this whole cloud space, and why are we here talking about this and the whole hybrid experience? In this connecting the clouds session. We've been doing our cloud practice for almost 4 years, and what we saw initially is the same problem over and over with service providers and customers trying to deploy a cloud. They were spending 6 months to 18 months trying to figure out what type of infrastructure to use, what type of cloud platform to use, how the pieces work together, what's going to scale, what's not going to scale. And it became very tedious, and everyone that we were working on was all going after the same goal but coming from different angles. So we took what we knew worked, and we took out everything we knew that wouldn't work, and we put together reference architectures for different cloud platforms that are already RightScale integrated for RightScale partners. We do the network design, storage, and servers with everything installed for a working cloud for a cloud workload to be actually moved on that and to burst out to a public cloud. And we do that all through a single pane of glass, which is RightScale. RightScale is that single management interface that connects to these Readapt private cloud racks that would be in your Equinix facility, and that bursts out through direct connects that we'll talk about later into different public providers.
So at Equinix, we're the world's largest provider of carrier-neutral data center services. We're really an interconnection company. I mean, we say we're a data center co-location company, but really the value is in interconnection. Here are some of our customers and the ecosystem. So because of the dense interconnection, certain industries, certain ecosystems have formed within Equinix. You know, obviously the networks, we can offer you connectivity to over 900 network providers worldwide. Then financial services says we want to be where the networks are. So we have the largest financial exchange ecosystem. This is, you can think of high frequency traders, buy side, sell side market data folks who are doing things at sub-millisecond latencies. They do worry about microseconds of latency. There's content. So a lot of the really big content companies, the CDNs, where they don't have their own data centers or where they need access to the networks, they're with us. Cloud computing, we have 300 cloud service providers, and whether it's the big ones like Amazon or others, we host them. They have presence in a number of our facilities, and we can be that on-ramp because, again, we're an interconnectivity company. And more we're looking at enterprises who are looking to take advantage of all these services out there. Where's the best place to pop to tether my own data center or access these service providers? It's where they all are, where you can very easily interconnect with them. And we in Redapt share quite a few customers. Any of the ones that jump out at you? I know you have Zynga and Hulu and who?
Yeah.
Who are some of the big ones that
Sony and partners like DataPipe and Amazon, and over here, I don't know if I said Boeing already, and Citigroup. We share many customers.
Mm-hmm. So again, as I said, Equinix is a data center services provider. We have getting up towards 100 data centers around the world in 31 metros. We provide, we're able to provide sub-10 millisecond latency to 90% of the population in North America and Europe. We just expanded into Dubai and Jakarta. So we're always looking to expand our footprint to where the traffic is, to where the users want us to be. And so, we're in South America, down in Brazil. And again, you can have a single global partner to deploy your distributed application infrastructure by working with Equinix. Just a few stats. So over 90% of internet routes go through our data center. So if you're on the network, chances are your traffic is going through our data centers. And we like to do a little bit of data center eye candy. This is our facility in Amsterdam. It's the greenest multi-tenant data center in Europe. They actually use groundwater to help cool. And yes, sir?
I was going to ask you if that was a moat.
Yes, it is. In fact, it is. I was there last month, and it's in the Amsterdam Science Park, part of the University of Amsterdam's complex, and it's actually a very pretty facility. People don't think of data centers as being anything but a big warehouse. But a number of our facilities are actually, at least in my view, very, very attractive. So a couple of things we're really going to talk about here are the ways you can control cloud, connect clouds, and improve your performance, lower your costs. I mentioned the own base rent, the spike, the idea that take that base load that you're going to run, and I did an analysis last year, did an article by that title, where all I did was took a specific Amazon instance on demand, did a 3-year total cost of ownership analysis, and compared it to go out and buy a HP DL380 or something like that. And it was about a 4.5 to 1. Now I know prices have come down, but still, it's just logical. Amazon has to buy equipment. So are they getting it that much cheaper that they can sell it for less than you can buy it yourself? Not yet. So again, if you can run it yourself, and then the other advantage is you have more control. If there's an instance that needs to be something that is not a configuration that the public cloud providers offer, if it's in your private cloud, you can do that. It's also more secure. And then we'll talk a bit more about Direct Connect and what some of the advantages of that are.
So I talked earlier a little bit about our reference architecture and trying to do these turnkey clouds for our customers. And since we talked about all these different locations that we can be in around the world, I wanted to tell a quick story about a customer. They were on Amazon, they loved Amazon, but they got into some issues around compliance and security, and they wanted more control, but they wanted the Amazon experience, but they needed to be in cities that Amazon was not in. So we actually helped them find the locations in the cities that they were moving to. We built all of their racks custom to their needs based on our architecture, and we actually shipped out racks to all these different cities so that they were different availability zones for them and they could just turn them on. So it's very interesting because you get to really control where your user experience are coming into. It's not just these very few availability zones around the world on public providers. You get the benefit of both. You can have those major pops with the public clouds, and you also can get very centralized in specific cities for your users. We have a cloud and DevOps team that will go in and take all the requirements based on what type of cloud you want to build, and we tweak that reference architecture that we have to make it work exactly for your needs. And it's a proven, scalable, highly secure infrastructure. And we also, for customers that may be new to cloud and may not know all the nuts and bolts, we offer that management service to any of the facilities that our racks are in. We also have a proven ROI against public clouds for bringing in static workloads. And let's talk about this for a second. Three companies we did, and this is the ROI that came from that. And you can see we've got different verticals. We've got social network, the gaming, and financial services. And if you look down towards the bottom, you'll see the break even is a little bit different. You've got 21 months for the social network. The gaming platform is 10 months. And you can kind of see what's going on if you look up the chart. Where that infrastructure was heavy. Was it processing? Was it RAM intensive? And was it IO intensive? We have 3 different candidates here. The financial services was obviously IO intensive, and their break even was 15 months. And that's just comparing actual compute and not really anything else. That's just AWS compute instances, reserve instances, and then comparing that to the cloud racks we built for them, and that's the ROI. So it's pretty compelling. And I want to just dive a little bit deeper into what we're seeing the most, like why are people wanting to go private? Why do they want to do a hybrid cloud? And I think it's the 3 things: agility, flexibility, and control. We want to help you not paint yourself into a corner, into a cloud corner. We want that flexibility to be able to choose your orchestration platform, your public platform, And that's why we've had a great partnership with RightScale for such a long time. And they help with that. They help give you that choice between I want to be all private or I want to be all public on multiple providers. So it gives you that flexibility that you need to scale and to control costs. And you know, it's a proven model. People have been talking about cloud for quite a while, and we've been doing many projects around this, and it's definitely the ROI is proven, the scalability is proven, all of the parts and pieces are proven. This is just little kind of ins and outs of the infrastructure. Just want to point out some stuff here without being in front of the projector. You see the Cloud 1, Cloud 2, Cloud 3. Those would be your availability zones. Those would be the racks you would buy that are custom for you, that are deployed out to different Equinix facilities, and that would be your cloud. On the right, you see Amazon and Rackspace. Those are the public clouds that they're all connected to. And as you move up, you get to see orchestration layers from cloud software and all the way up to that RightScale management. And I talked earlier about that single pane of glass. That's what it looks like from the inside. This is what it looks like to the right of the outside. That's the what our racks look like and the servers.
So I talked a little bit earlier about Direct Connect, and if you think about, again, multi-tenant data centers, if you think about such things, I do, you've got all of these companies, all these tenants in the same facility, and when they need to exchange information with each other, what would you typically do? You'd go out over a network and come back in. Well, if you can directly connect, if you can just do a cross-connect from your rack to theirs, what do you gain? Well, point to point, it's going to be secure. If it's a direct fiber link, 1 gig, 10 gig, very fast. And what are you going to pay? Well, you're not paying the network service provider for transit, so it's much less expensive. So the advantages of Direct Connect can be huge. Again, it hits all the high points. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's better. And so all you're really doing is paying for a port to go from your cage, your rack, your gear to that provider. And where there are a dense number of companies that want to interconnect with each other, this kind of connectivity makes a lot of sense. And if you look at our exchanges and ecosystems where, again, you think of high frequency, low latency algorithmic trading, these people are just fanatical about reducing network delays. And I'm told that out of fairness, if there's a particular feed that multiple companies are getting in our facility, we actually have spools of wire to delay so that everybody gets it at exactly that same microsecond, because that's how much they care. And if you think back to this last Tuesday where there was the algorithm that decided, oh, there's these 2 keywords that are bad, sell, sell, sell. There aren't humans involved. This is all as fast as they can possibly get it. And of course, security is a big concern. So as we extend that to services like cloud, some of those benefits really make a lot of sense. Did I mention it's cheaper? This is a comparison between connecting to Amazon and doing data transfer over the internet versus doing it over a direct connect. And Amazon's, they're no dummies. You get to put your data in for free, but you have to pay to take it out. So this is data transfer out costs per month. And if you look at the costs, and I made certain assumptions on the cost of internet, but you look at, if you totally saturate a 1 gig circuit, that's about 350 terabytes a month. Do you want to spend 8,000 for that or about 45,000? And the higher you go, the more the savings. So this is really compelling. And when you get a direct connect from Amazon, you're buying a port, so 1 gig or 10 gig. And the other thing is the pricing per gigabyte for data transfer is significantly less. So whereas, say, take the US East zone, you start at 12 cents a gigabyte for the first 10 terabytes. It goes down, but at some point, up to, I forget, maybe 100 terabytes, it's 5 cents and then a little less. Flat rate for Direct Connect, with us, it's 2 cents in East Coast, West Coast. We also have Direct Connect points in Sydney, Singapore, and Tokyo. So it's a way to really reduce your data transfer costs while improving performance, improving security. What's not to like? So how does all this fit together and work? This is the kind of vision slide of what the solution looks like. So yes, you're connecting to public cloud. And you also have your private cloud. So you have that ability to run some of your workloads on your own gear, whether for performance, security, cost. And then direct connect. Again, think of this facility where all of these partners are a direct connect away. And then you go out over, it can be public internet through your current provider. We also run the world's largest carrier Ethernet exchange. I think we're over 80 partners now. So you can buy a port on the Ethernet exchange, get a layer 2 circuit directly to millions of buildings around the world. So that eliminates local loop, again, in a way to save cost, improve security, and let's see, last I checked, you can get some high capacity Ethernet circuits for sub $10 a megabit, which if you're used to telco costs, $20, $30, $40 a megabit, this can be an order of magnitude less. So there's really some compelling value in Ethernet. So this is the idea, the picture of what your infrastructure, an agile, flexible infrastructure can look like by moving part of your workloads to your own private cloud and connecting direct connect or other ways into the public cloud and orchestrating with RightScale. Anything you want to add to this one?
No, that's great. And this is what happens when you take some of the best cloud companies in the world and put them all together. You get this story here. You get the private cloud, the public cloud. You get the foundation and the low latency cross connects. You get everything in a turnkey solution and single bill. So it's quite a story, and we're very thankful to be a partner with both Equinix and RightScale. It's been a tremendous journey with those folks.
So let's see, I think, this is on to the question and answer. Again, we're at the bottom of the technology stack. We're foundational. We're where you can run your gear, but we also work with most of the biggest cloud content and services companies in the world. So we become that interconnection point, that crossroads of the internet. So there's a lot that you can do if you take advantage of this to architect solutions to really focus on that user experience, to get close to your users, to deliver content close to your users, make them happy, and make money. So, any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for speaking to the financial services. I know cloud is doesn't seem to be seems like the last vertical that's getting brought on board, and talking about microseconds and talking about the the exchanges and that. One of the challenges we face, I'm in a financial service vertical company myself, and seeing this private cloud that can fit right in Equinix where all the pops to the exchanges are. Does RightScale, and I guess Readapt would be the better place to ask this, is there any bare metal provisioning with RightScale automation involved? I saw in your slide that you had the cloud stack as like your reference architecture, but microseconds have a hard time sometimes getting through those. I mean, are companies using hypervisors and microseconds? Is that still synonymous, or they're not?
Still using special hardware, special NIC cards.
Yeah, and your clouds, your system isn't ready to be designed to embrace like a solar flare with a bare metal provision.
We do that. We set up pods.
Pods separate from these cloud reference stacks, and then they work in conjunction.
That can be orchestrated by the platform.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, interesting. Maybe we have to talk after
Okay.
this.
And one other, just the idea of what's possible, with direct connects and all of this, interconnection ecosystem. We did a proof of concept last year and announced a product with Amazon and Redapt last fall, which they're calling Redapt Private Storage for AWS. And the idea is for companies that want to keep their data private, they're not ready to put it in the cloud, they don't trust it, or they just don't know how yet. You can keep your data on your own owned storage array, in this case a NetApp array, direct connect that to Amazon for EC2. So it's a variation on a hybrid cloud idea that rather than private and public, what you have is within the same application stack, some physical gear and some cloud. So you think about something like DR where, yeah, I'm replicating my data offsite from on-premises to an offsite facility. That's great, but for DR, I still need all of the compute capacity. You can do that in EC2. And all it is, it's a nice SCSI link between your EC2 instance and your physical gear. One's the initiator, one's the target, and it's a great way. You can pre-provision your Amazon machine instances for when that disaster hits, but you're not paying for it like you would with the big DR firms, a SunGard or somebody like that. So interesting variations that you can do with the connectivity and the different pieces.
For getting a cross-connect or a direct connect link, are there people architecting applications where they'd want to be able to order that directly through a RightScale platform? Or I assume today all that's done through contracting directly with the Equinix rep. What are you seeing, or what's possible? What do you see being enabled?
Actually, that's been added to the AWS Management Console. You can request the Direct Connect link. Now, there's still the physical piece. You have to do the letter of authority saying I approve that you pop this location, but it's still a physical process. When we get to SDN and software-defined everything, then it can be more programmatic, and then certainly orchestration tools like RightScale would make that all the easier. Today, you still would have to, because we can't do it on your behalf, you have to do the request, but they've made it a lot easier than it was, say, a year ago.
So this really looks great, actually. I mean, just one high-level question. I mean, is this really in a cookie cutter mode? Like I'll give you an example. Let's say if we are in the business of serving our customers, which requires all this infrastructure to be nearest to our customer, right? And AWS cannot reach everywhere, and you don't have public clouds everywhere. So once done as in you have the reference architecture, you define your cross connects, everything. Can this be converted into a cookie cutter mode wherein all the partners, like let's say customers as in we, Redapt, Equinix, and the AWS can direct connect can replicate that over and over for different regions in the world? Is that
that's possible.
That reality, or is that still
No, because everything we do, we have the DevOps mentality where we automate everything. So, when figuring out exactly how your cloud is going to be and going to be used, and how many users you expect in each zone or region, then we script that all so that if you say, hey, I need something in Singapore, it comes into one of our cloud facilities around the world, gets put together, the script goes out, installs everything. We're kind of a big chef shop, and it's provisioned to be another availability zone in your cloud. So when it ships, we ship racks. We ship fully configured racks. So those go out, you unbox it, plug it in. We've set it up so it already knows it's part of the cloud. So you can have these turnkey clouds in each city you want.
Yeah, and one of the services that we offer is what we call Smart Hands. The idea of we can do the rack and stack. We can, if you can give us the elevation diagrams and script it, our folks can do it. So we have a number of customers who, if they need to deploy in Singapore, in Jakarta, wherever, they don't have to send people out. They just send the gear, the instructions, we'll bring it up. We had one company that popped 3 locations in 3 regions in 3 months. That's what's possible because, rather than you having to go find space, build out yourself, if it's where we already have facilities, we can accelerate and make it that much easier for you.
Are we talking about a rack worth of service to start, or like, I mean, just to, sorry. Let's say if you want to do it the first time, where do you start? I mean, can you start with like, let's say 5 DL380 servers or something like that? Like, what's the number to be?
Our smallest starter rack is 5 compute nodes.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
And we have a customer that has that small rack in several cities around the world because it knows that those 5 compute nodes can handle the exact amount of users that they want. We actually pre-wire everything for any type of growth. So it's already pre-cabled, so when we do ship servers out, we're just plugging them all in and walk out. We don't have to do anything. And then in partnership with Equinix, we get all the MAC addresses and everything, and we load that Excel spreadsheet, and boom, it's provisioned.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, and we get this question a lot, that there's sometimes confusion about what co-location providers like us provide. We don't resell. That's where the relationship with Redapt is so complementary. At the end of the day, we provide space, power, access to the networks, and smart hands, but we don't buy the servers and stand them up for you or run them for you. That's that's where you can either do it yourself or do it with a company like Redapt. And we just focus on running very high quality facilities and providing that connectivity platform.
Can you tell us how we can leverage this demo that's up on the screen right now?
Well, so there are the contacts up here, and you can either contact Redapt, and I assume that will go to you, Jeff?
Yes, I will get that forwarded to me.
Or we have our partner services, and we have a team of solutions architects. These are pre-sales folks, so you don't have to pay for them. They can help understand what your challenges are and architect solution from an infrastructure network standpoint. And then if there are certain proof points that you want to see in a demo, or if you just want to see what this looks like, if you want to see moving a workload from your private cloud into public cloud using RightScale, we can arrange for that. So if that's of interest, just contact us, and we'll get that spun up for you.
We have 2 types of demos we can do. The one demo is if you're a RightScale customer, we just add this cloud into your control panel. So you see that as you're going to see all your Amazon regions, you'll just see another region in there. And then if you're not a RightScale customer, then we set it up for you and show you how you burst back and forth between the private cloud and public cloud.
So, Jeff, you had that slide with migrating the economic comparison between running on AWS and on your own infrastructure, and the numbers are certainly compelling. Can you share with us from companies where you help them migrate out what that's been like from an application standpoint? I know with Equinix and with setting up the hardware, you can do that really easy, but there's a lot of application questions around that to actually extract something out of a public cloud.
There are, and the application one. I mean, the entire process. I don't want to fool anyone. I mean, this is a very complex. The cloud stuff. If anyone tells you it's easy, it's a lie. It's very complex. The infrastructure, the app migration. What we do, we have folks that can do the app migration. But we found that just by giving them these turnkey solutions and giving them back 6 months of their work, that's time they get to focus on migrating their apps. And we have a program. It's a dev rack that goes out. So it's just a demo cloud rack. It's got everything installed on it, so you can see how it works. And it becomes a nice dev rack, so the developers can hit it. They can start seeing what that's like. They can start setting up their dev environment on it, creating those apps, and go from there. And then from that, we just can ship them out production equipment. But the app thing has been very tricky. The customers that we've worked with who are on RightScale, it's not very tricky. If their apps are already RightScale ready, it's basically turnkey, the complete thing. But if you're not on RightScale yet, you might like I said earlier, painting yourself in a cloud corner. If you talk to us, get signed up with RightScale, we'll help you with. As part of the process, we help migrate 5 applications over. So that's usually valued to most people.
Yeah, and that's really the key to, we understand the physical and the operational layer. Now, having worked in IT organizations for many years, there always seems to be that dividing line between the ops and the apps side of IT, and bridging that, whether it's with DevOps or just getting the developers to care about where it runs, how it runs, designing the database to be distributed. That is a big challenge that we can help up to a point, but it's a mindset. So we want to present this to developers and say, think about what's possible. And one of the things we also talk about is don't look so much at reducing the cost of your network, look at increasing the capacity. Because if you maintain that mindset that WAN is expensive, I've got to minimize traffic on the WAN, that really limits developers to what they can do. Versus, and I wrote a piece last year I called Unlimited Free WAN, and it was just this thought process of if you could get unlimited bandwidth, it's free, get anywhere in the world, how would that change your designs? How would that change your behavior? And the analogy I use is think back to your home use and when you had dial-up. What did you consume with dial-up? America Online, people remember that? It was very limited. Then you got broadband, and suddenly you started consuming the heck out of it. Now Netflix is a third of all internet traffic. It's amazing how people have just taken to this fat pipe coming to their house. I back up my home PC to Carbonite because I don't want to have to maintain a backup infrastructure at home. If you can take that same approach in the enterprise or in to customer-facing apps, how would you re-architect them? Those are the kind of conversations that can be really interesting and exciting, and that's where all of this looking forward is going to be amazing. To think that transition like we had from dial-up to broadband, when that happens in the enterprise space, what will apps of the future look like? How will they behave? And of course, mobility is a huge part of that as well. That getting those mobile operators to optimize their networks the way the land-based ones enables so much.
Would you mind mentioning a little bit about compliance and security? Right? Because if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you provide the physical locations and they provide the rack space, right? So who decides who has access when physically to the equipment?
Okay, so in an Equinix facility, we have 24/7 staffing for security. We have 5 levels of hand scan from the front door to your cage. You decide ultimately as the customer who can get in. We also have closed circuit TV monitoring so that we can see whenever people come out. A lot of people have this idea of if it's multi-tenant, it must be less secure, and actually the opposite is true. That we are constantly monitoring who goes. You don't get into the facility without a ticket or having been badged. And I think back to one company I worked for. I was server operations manager. The data center happened to sit between where a lot of the engineers were and the cafeteria. And the facilities folks would not allow me to control who went through. So when people went to the lunchroom, they'd go through the data center, they'd get their rack of food, they'd come back through the data center, and it just horrified me. But they said, well, what are you, why are you being such a, why are you being so difficult? And I said, if somebody were to dump their tuna noodle casserole on my server, it's not a good thing. That is not going to happen in our facilities. We have some of the most secure data centers anywhere in the world. And so the other thing I would say is if you have any questions or doubts, take a tour of one of our facilities. We can show you, and you'll be, I think, very reassured. Now beyond that, again, up to the rack of gear, we can control. Once there's data on the wire, then there's all of the normal concerns, and that's where something like a direct connect, which is much more secure, rather than relying on a VPN tunnel, something like that, and even layer 2 Ethernet is a more secure way to connect. Any other security thoughts?
Did that answer, like from our side? Because we don't. Do you want to know more about the infrastructure compliance?
Well, for instance, if if I'm a RightScale customer, I really don't care if a hard drive goes out. That's I want that to be your problem.
Yeah.
If there's, I mean, I'm honest, right? And so, but if that does happen, how do I get notified, right? I mean, you know, RightScale's not going to alert me
No.
that a drive went out, right?
No.
I'm not going to know that. So if I have secure data on a particular drive array or whatever you have,
Yeah.
I have to understand or know where that data is going or,
Yeah.
or what's happening to that broken drive. Or
We,
what have
we,
you, right?
we have a process for that. So we put these things called Cloudkits inside, which are all of the parts that fail often, drives and everything. And then, so if you were at Equinix, we would do a phone call to a smart hands person. They would go put the Cloudkit drive in the bad one, send us the broken one, and we do whatever's depending on which kind of regulation you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we either wipe the drive or we just straight send it back and replace that, and then that replaces your kit. So you always have new stuff going on, and we get notified because we offer that service as kind of our customer care service that it's all outbound. So anything that happens on the infrastructure side, we get notified and alerted, and we take care of that. We typically call our customers and say, "Hey, a new drive's coming to you." By the way, they're like, "What?" Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had some drive failures. Don't worry about it. And that's how we handle that.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, anything else? If not, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We've got our tables downstairs if you want more information. Thanks.